Alright, well, we've successfully navigated our way through 8 bars of treacherous dominant chord terrain, but the inevitable 5 chord looms before us and we need to make sure we can plot a course, or something like that. Anyway, here are 3 ideas to use over a 5 chord in a blues. Alright, now if you've been keeping up, you'll know we're talking about a standard 12 bar blues progression in the key of E. And in the key of E, our 5 chord is going to be a B7. Now, a couple of quick observations about this 5 chord that can help inform our approach to it. Firstly, we're not on this 5 chord for very long at all, typically just 1 bar before it climbs back down to the 4, in this case A7. Something like this. Now, the real blues fans out there might have been expecting to hear the turnaround there, and indeed we will come to that, but for the moment we're just dealing with that moment where we're moving from the 5 chord to the 4 chord. So it happens pretty quickly. Any melodic point we're going to make has to be done pretty swiftly and ideally reflects the movement down from the 5 to the 4. The other thing to point out about the 5 chord here is that harmonically we have travelled the furthest away from the root, the E chord, that we're going to. And this gives us a bit of scope to add a fair bit of dissonance to reflect the tension of that movement. So with those things in mind, let's have a look at option 1. Okay, so option 1 is probably the easiest one to segue into from the rest of the sequence. It's probably a safe bet to say that over the E blues sequence you have been playing some ideas based around an E blues scale. So the first idea for you today would be to just simply keep using the E blues scale but targeting some notes that fit with the B7 chord. An obvious candidate would be the B note. And for my first idea, I'm going to sort of go into that B note via the B flat, that blues note, to really highlight a bit of tension. And I might go via the A note as well. So going A to B flat, and then picking the B at the 12th fret on the B string. So you get a really nice clash there. And then probably just climb back down the scale and finish on the A note there at the 14th fret on the G string to coincide with the A7 chord. Let's give that a go. Now, another thing worth trying is getting even more B7 specific by playing the notes of a B7 chord, a little bit like an arpeggio. For this particular shape, I'm going to play the B7 here. It's the 11th fret on the E string, 10th fret on the B string, and 11th fret on the G string. If you're used to playing mainly open position chords, you'll recognise that as a D7 chord shape. It's just moved up the neck until it becomes B7 here. And to make it a little bit more interesting, if we pick it in a nice little pattern, something where we're picking the first string, then the third string, then the second, then the third. Give it a little bit of a wobble as well, and you might even get a little nod of approval from the Jimi Hendrix fans. And then to climb down to the A7, we can play the same 7-chord shape 2 frets lower. And to spice it up a little bit, we can go via the B flat 7 chord in between. So we're literally just picking that shape down 1 fret at a time. Let's give that a go. And the third possible idea for you to try out today, I kind of consider this a bit of a variation of the first phrase, in that it's based very much around the E blues scale at the 12th position of the neck. However, when you're in the key of E, it's probably fair to say that the F natural note would be a little bit of a peculiar choice in most contexts. Doesn't really fit. However, when that B7, the 5 chord, comes around, it seems to work really nicely. And something I like to do a lot of the time is do this little climb down from the F natural to the E, and then D, B. So it's recognisably the E blues shape, but we've added this F natural into the mix. And maybe worth highlighting briefly just why that works so well. You remember I was saying earlier how when we come to the 5 chord, we've journeyed a kind of a significant distance away from the root chord. We've travelled far enough to almost give the impression of briefly having changed key. So when you play these notes over that B7 chord, you are basically playing a B blues scale. So you've kind of shifted the tonal centre, if you like, from the E root to a B root. And it works really nicely if you time it correctly. So I will now attempt to time it correctly. So there we go, 3 different concepts for you to try out when soloing over the 5 chord in a 12-bar blues. By no means exhaustive, obviously, but hopefully there's enough material there to inspire a few new ideas for you. Thank you ever so much for watching. Please consider liking, subscribing, commenting, means an awful lot. And I will see you again very soon, where we better deal with that pesky turnaround. Thanks again. Cheers.